Good afternoon, everybody. This is Josh France here, checking in with you as we all get signed up here. I went ahead and put a poll up on the screen so we can get some feedback from our fantastic user community out there. So go ahead and fill that out while we wait for everybody else to log in today. Close that. So most 50% of the respondents said a 50 megapixel camera or more would be what they'd like. Now I'd like to see where are you going to store all that data? So just to see if we've thought of that part of the question. We're going to tie right now between the cloud, of course, and internal storage server. Oh, the cloud's pulling ahead. All right, so everybody welcome. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to all those listeners from around the world in the United States. As you know, my name is Josh France, and I'm broadcasting live from Winter Garden, Florida at our beautiful new headquarters for RIEGL USA. So today we're going to talk about improving user productivity. So that's the tact I'm taking here today. So stay with me. So productivity, how do we define that? Well, of course, it is the rate of output per unit of input. Obviously, that's a very straightforward definition. I hope you'll agree with me. So what are ways that a service provider can get more productivity out of the equipment from their manufacturer? Or a better way to say that is how can a manufacturer of sense systems and system integrations and sensors help improve our end users' productivity? Well, I'd like to say there are three ways we can impact this. One, through economical nature, such as the cost of a sensor, through ways of increasing time, lots of different ways in terms of the money equation. So the other way is, of course, through data throughput. So straight up make things faster, right? We can do a lot of things to make the back end faster, perhaps. So we'll take a look at that. And finally, we have some ability to provide multiple uses for the same system, whether it's using it on different platforms or using it for different jobs, having the flexibility on cameras, things like that. That's what I'm talking about with flexibility. So let's first embark on our discussion of how can we affect improvement from an economical standpoint. Well, I'd be amiss not to show our three main mobile systems. So we have the VMX2HA, which is our very nice top-of-the-class flagship sensor, as it were, with many different camera options and dual VQ VUX1HA sensors. We then have our VMQ1HA, which is the swivel mount sensor, which you can turn to different angles to achieve different scan angles based on what your needs are. And last but not least was just announced this May was our VMY2. And this includes two mini VUX series scanners and gives you a great dual scan pattern, however, a lot lower density data and a much more economically priced solution. So we had to continue that thinking further, which is how we came to our newest member of the mobile family, the VMY1. So the VMY1, of course, is extremely compact, as you can see. It has a single sensor in it. You have an Applanix AP20 or AP60 options. It has a similar performance to the 3UAV. It's not necessarily always going to be that sensor, just for clarification there. It offers some camera flexibility options that are well known in terms of our CS6 cameras and the Ladybug 5 Plus, of course. And it comes in under 20 pounds. So a much easier, lighter system. And it also gives you dual use. So that dual use, you can simply unscrew it, remove it, and connect it to a UAV platform. Of course, some accessories and integrations not included, I might add, but that's the general sense of the system. So that gives you a little brief look at our brand new system, the VMY1. So we also did what I like to call a supercharging of our VUX1HA. That's right, the VUX1HA has a new moniker, the VUX1HA 22 edition. And what did we do for the 22 edition? Well, my friends, we added a higher pulse rate, a 1.8 megahertz pulse rate to be specific. So this is going to decrease your point spacing even further than it already was at 1 million points a second. So it's a very tight point pattern. It's going to improve the lower end of our minimum range for the higher pulse rates. So that's going to be at the upper ones above 1 million. You can now scan targets that are closer than 1 meter with full confidence that you will achieve the Bucks 1HA performance specs of 3 and 5 millimeters respectively, precision and accuracy, of course. So, and even better news is we have some product protection or investment protection involved here, as we actually have an upgrade path for some of the more recently delivered scanners. And we have an improved performance then on the overall pulse rate without losing any range, which is very critical. So that's the new on the Bucks 1HA22. And so how does that affect our bottom line in terms of economical productivity? Well, we now have more cost-effective options, whether you consider a dual sensor system with the flexibility with cameras in different vehicles, a very large plus for you, or if you're considering the different options, so you don't, so when you're looking at a new system, you can consider maybe using a VMY1 or a VMY2 to better fit the project specifications that you have, because not every job is a multi-million-dollar infrastructure job. Some of them are smaller GIS-related jobs that have a lower price tag per mile that folks are willing to accept and pay for. So now we have some more flexibility in how you can use a RIEGL system to meet those needs. Well, with the higher scan rate now, that's going to bring the VMX 2HA to a 3.6 megahertz rating, which is the highest that there is available on the market today. So with these options and these changes, we have a very high-speed system with a very excellent pulse rate. And for those of you that are counting at home, the price of the Bucks 1HA sensor remains the same, so we're giving you more for the same dollar. So now we're going to walk into how we have improved your workflow productivity or your output, your direct throughput from start to finish with the mobile scanning software and data processing. So let's take a quick pause to do a quick poll question before I share this. So here it is. What takes the most time for data processing? Just to see who's still awake out there in virtual land. All right. We'll see how many already know about some of our upgrades here. All right. Very good. Love the response. Love the activeness. Thank you very much for sticking with me. No, everyone thinks Rye Precision is very fast. That's awesome. Fantastic. All right. I think that's going to be about it. Last call for votes. 3, 2, 1. Closing it. Okay. So just real quickly, these are the quick results, so we can see that the colorization won the race in terms of it taking the most amount of time. All right, so let's hide that and go back to sharing my screen. Hold on. All right, so we have some new software releases. Some of you may already be aware of them, with RIE Process 1.9 coming out this last May. And of course, our latest release hit the streets on Tuesday of last week while I was over at Energio in Hanover. So hopefully you've downloaded those, taken a look at them. But if not, let's talk a little bit about what we have going on. So a non-software specific release is licensing, right? Everyone's favorite topic, licensing. I know everybody loves those green dongles out there. Well, I'm here to tell you that you probably have an upgrade path that can get you away from the green dongles and move to a serial-based licensing process. That's right, we have an SNL license that allows you to process the data anywhere. There are no conditions in which you cannot still process this data. So you can come up with a million different scenarios, and I will tell you it's still unlimited. So if you haven't looked into that lately, please give me an email after this and ask if your system qualifies for that program. We might be able to accommodate that. So that's for cloud processing. It does work on there. I've seen it done. I've had users report success, so it wasn't just a RIEGL only thing. It's happening in the real world, folks. So data throughput. So there's a lot going on in this slide, so I'll cut to the chase here. We have a really great way to provide software improvements. So I just ran some of these tests yesterday with the newest 1.9.1 to verify them, and they're still true. So for LAS export in 1.8.8, if you're using that version still, it's time to upgrade to the 1.9.1 because it is down to 4 minutes. Now this is an hour collect using two 12 megapixel cameras from in the RIEGL housing with the VMX2HA, so dual scanners. I'm serious, it really took 4 minutes to export all that data, and it also took 24 minutes to colorize the scan data with the Ladybug 5 Plus. So we have lots of upgrades here. If you haven't emailed your RIEGL distributor or myself to ask how you can get to this data processing efficiency with your system, don't wait, do it today. So, and the image export, that's the latest release. So in 1.9, that wasn't there, but in 1.1, it is there. I tested it yesterday. I couldn't believe that it really only took 55 minutes from what once took 3 hours. So great news on the productivity side. So that's straight up increasing your bottom line. That's got to help you. The data size as well, that's going to help eliminate some of those grumbles that you hear from your IT department when you say you need another terabyte of data storage. So vehicle flexibility, this is well known, of course, in the industry, that you can put a VMX or a VMQ or a VMY pretty much on anything that moves and it will collect data for you. So that provides its own efficiency in that part of discussion. Now we have what I call a collection condition flexibility. You know, there's so many of us that start a job with good intentions to be all done before the sun rises too far in the sky, and we'll have perfect pictures because we have the settings right, only to find out that there's some type of error that involves us calling our support teams and finding out what happened. This happens to us all, even long-term users. So as a result, we have some new features within our software to help improve these chances that you get perfect photos. Well, maybe not perfect photos, but at least serviceable photos in which you can see everything that you needed to see. So these are what I call collection protectors, because they protect your collection's validity so you don't have to do any recollections. All right, so let's get into the meat of it. So on the right-hand side here, you can see very clearly that it's a very simple option. You can select your gamma collection value, and you can select your automatic brightness adjustment. Now, I will note that this only works with the RIEGL cameras. So if you plan on using this with your Ladybug 5 Plus imagery, this isn't the place to do that. You can do that directly in their software, and we can now also use that exported information in the XML format. Different conversation for another day, perhaps, but today we're just talking about the RIEGL cameras. So that's the 5, the 12, and some folks still have the 9 megapixel cameras that are on the market a couple years ago. All right, so I've shown this image a couple times in previous webinars, so I apologize for the reuse, but it's very effective. So we all have been here where the clouds move in, block the sunlight, and bam, our great looking Florida sky is now polluted with cloud cover, and our images are dark, because even if you have the best intentions of having the right settings, it's just gone. So how do we fix that? We check the box for automatic brightness, and boom, there it is. It's really that easy. I almost feel like I sound like a bit of a salesman or a used car salesman today, but it really is that simple. So on the gamma correction side, so I had to play around with this quite a bit yesterday to try to figure out exactly what it's doing. But you know, the gamma correction sort of is a monitor specific thing. So how your monitor displays the images is affected by the old graphics card and the display settings and so on and so forth. So with just a linear correction, this photo is really dark and kind of yucky. But when we apply a gamma sRGB, which is what apparently 99% or 95% of all monitors are, you get this. So that's without the brightness adjustments. That's just the gamma value. So the before, not so great. So that's the original dark image that you see sometimes, and sometimes on the monitor in the vehicle. I know I've had this happen. The monitor in the vehicle, the pictures look great, but when I'm on my computer, I go, man, they don't look right. What happened? Well, it's the gamma value. So there we have it. Looks much cleaner, not perfect. Then we add the brightness, and then it brightens things up as well. So between the two options there, you're left with some pretty good imagery choices that will go into your export. So that's the new feature. It's a gamma correction. It's found when you right click on the camera, go to edit, and make that change on the processing tab. If you have images open, it won't let you change it. So close the images and try again. All right. And we'll take a few seconds to load some of these things because it's making that live correction to the data. All right. Remember, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the questions box, and I'll get to them after the end of the show here. All right, moving right along here. We now have more camera lens flexibility. We've talked about this in the past, but I feel it's worth mentioning again, as we have the options of the 16 and 8mm lens, which simply means that you can perhaps take fewer pictures, which will therefore translate into a savings on disk space, which ultimately serves the purpose of increasing reliability of object recognition. While we all can read both images, when we get into computer algorithms, that becomes a bit dicier the blurrier it is. So the 16 megapixel image definitely does, or sorry, 12 megapixel 16mm image definitely does a better job at detecting all those edges cleanly from a further distance. So available on any camera that you order, just let us know. Not for any, backup, any 12 megapixel camera that you order. So with the cameras, we also added a few options a couple years ago where we talked a lot about pavement scanning, and one of our users was kind enough to provide some information on a job they recently did related to concrete slab analysis. So thank you very much, DRMP, and I know there's some other folks out there doing this as well. And if you have a great project, and I'm not talking about it, and you want to know why, that's probably because I haven't got the information from you. So send me information, I'll include it in my frequent webinars. So back to DRMP's project, they were able to successfully scan a 5-mile corridor that included 6 lanes in travel direction and at least 5 exits along the path there. They were able to utilize the VMX2HA with a downward-facing camera to collect the data. As you can see here, they were then able to use feature extraction software to pull out all the edges of the concrete slabs and label them appropriately, so then you could also draw in where there's cracking. And then the engineering company could take it away from there and determine which slabs needed replaced and which ones could just be repaired for the time being. So this was a very effective way to accomplish all that. And as you can see, you see a lot with the laser data on the right-hand side there, but certainly the photograph speaks volumes for exactly where those hard edges are between the concrete slabs. You can kind of make them out in the laser data, but it's a challenge even for myself to know exactly where that is. Now that's not the same section, just to be clear. All right, so that's a great camera mission option. Another camera mission option, of course, relates to our distribution lines out there. So back in June, I gave a presentation focused on the distribution acquisition with a mobile mapping system. And we talked about all the different things you can extract with our friends over at Throughput, as you can see there. And you can notice that the cameras are pointed in different directions on the vehicle to help us better acquire imagery for the features that we care about. And that's one of the great things about the VMX system is the camera flexibility really lets you move those cameras around to provide the best look angle and the best opportunity to capture the data that you're looking for. So with this flexibility in production, you know, you have vehicle independence. So if you want to go on a boat, for example, you go on a boat, you can go on a train, you can go on a high rail truck, a quad, a swamp masher I've seen on before. There are a lot of examples out there. So if it moves, you can probably use it. There are some more risky ones out there for sure that make everybody sweat a little bit more when they see them, but it can be done. So cameras, of course, with all this flexibility and different changes, it really affords you the option to get a really clear picture of what it is that you're looking at. We all love 3D scan data. That's why we're in this industry. That's why we buy mobile laser scanners. But at the end of the day, a building with a fancy facade, such as the one on the right there, really can't be accurately described in laser data without a lot of staring and a lot of adjustment. But this makes it much easier to read as is. Rather than trying to squint and figure out what exactly is the reflectance reading telling me about the wording on the building. So things like that are just very critical. And then of course we have this image acquisition protection feature now where we have auto brightness adjustment as well as an ability to better view the photos with the right gamma setting for our monitors. So we can get a lot more value out of our collected imagery. And hopefully that translates to more use of the imagery, especially since we've made it a much faster export experience. So hopefully we can have a program called Fall in Love with Your RIEGL Cameras all over again. So that brings me to about 10 minutes till the half hour. So right on schedule here, I will have a quick summary slide here. So in summary, about productivity. So we provide purpose-built system choices that reflect both the understanding that our customers have the different size systems that are required for different jobs and also have unique price points that best fit budgets and missions that they're expected to serve. We have improved sensor performance that we've passed on to our users that also allow for some users to be able to upgrade their sensors to this new generation without buying a brand new sensor. Software throughput speedup. I think if you went back a year ago and I told you about those speed up performances, you would not believe me that that was true. But try it for yourself. It's true. The software speed up is a tremendous value and it's available for all current software maintenance users. So if you're not current on software maintenance, now's a great time to get back in maintenance so that way you can take advantage of these amazing new features. And I think licensing without dongles is a really big deal because there are more and more businesses that I come in contact with who are looking to move to a virtual machine environment, moving to a cloud compute model, and all sorts of variations. And the problems I've had at trainings in the last 10 years, trying to get everyone's computer to properly recognize a green dongle, well, they were frustrating. And I think we'll all agree that the world of the future probably operates better without dongles. So we have a great model with the S&L licenses. We still have a SIL license, which does involve a dongle for in-house processing that can still be utilized. But I think the S&L model is going to be a big winner, and it really future-proofs this technology. And then mission flexibility. I mean, how many times are you out there on the job and need to switch between a mobile and a UAV sensor, perhaps? Those are becoming more and more common situations. And I know in the past, we've kind of had a policy of not really providing that directly here at RIEGL USA or at RIEGL in general. And so now we have more options that allow you to switch between the two without bursting your budget. And last but not least, this all together, I think, shows clearly that RIEGL Mobile Solutions are the only choice for productivity. So I thank you all for coming today, and I hope you tell your friends about this and share the video with them as well. And I'll now take questions, orders, and comments for the next 5 minutes, or I guess 7 minutes, or longer. I have the afternoon open, so go ahead, ask any questions, comments, concerns, wishes. We'll see what we can do. But thank you all very much for attending, and happy to take those questions now. Just to let everybody know, the polls I asked earlier today, we asked about what size megapixel camera people would most like to see next. The overwhelming majority of you picked 50 megapixels. The next question was, where would you store all this data once you get these amazing 50 megapixel or larger cameras? Most voted that they would store it on the cloud or an internal server, so it's kind of split between the two. And then last but not least was everyone felt that the colorization process was one of the biggest time takers of the processing data routine. So seems like a lot of folks need to try out the newest versions to see if that still holds true. All right, well, everybody, thanks again. And till next time, have a good one and take care of take care of each other. Bye. This is Josh France signing off from RIEGL North American headquarters in Winter Garden, Florida.